on in. You've got your seats. We're going to give Grits and Eggs, who is providing lunch today, just a couple of more minutes. But I want to welcome all of you to our inaugural Sustainability in Action Day at City Hall. Multi-mobility, scooters, e-bikes, which I believe we also have out here, and still walking. I'm an EV owner for 3 years. Before that, I didn't have a car for 10 years in the city of Atlanta. That is a fact. So I did a lot of walking. But we are really fortunate here in the city of Atlanta to be a leader in sustainability across the nation. Our mayor, Andre Dickens, is very passionate about our city's sustainability commitments. He is an ardent supporter of the city's goal to transition to 100% clean energy by 2035. We're getting close, but we have to do more. And the transition to electric vehicles, the way that we are transitioning our own city fleet to include more electric vehicles, is a really important part of that effort. Our mayor has also set a national precedent for mayors by adding a Rivian to his official executive protection fleet. How many people knew that? Well, now you know. Good. Some of you. So, we're going to continue to be a national leader in sustainability, in climate resilience, and it is critically important that my office, the Mayor's Office of Sustainability, has the partnership of all of you. And so one of the very first ways we can get started by taking some sustainable actions is by coming here to get ready to go ahead and grab your zero waste lunch. We want to thank Grits and Eggs for being the provider of this lunch today. And so if you'd like to go ahead and start moving your way through that line, the mayor will be here in just a few minutes. We're going to take a look at some of the vehicles outside, and he's going to come in before we dive into our panel discussion. So y'all ready for a really exciting afternoon? All right, let's go ahead and queue up for lunch, and we'll be back in just a few minutes.
well as my boss of bosses, Mayor Andre Dickens, about his commitments to electric vehicles, to electrification, to climate action, and to clean energy. So super excited for all of y'all to be here and to have this amazing experience with the electric vehicles outside, as well as with this EV community that we have surrounding us.
Good morning, good morning. I am Danielle Cherry Hoover, EV enthusiast, EV driver, EV hybrid Noir member. I work and consult with EVNoire, and they're an amazing company and policy, and I'm so very happy to be living in the city of Atlanta because policy and change is coming and is here, and I'm happy that you all are here. It's very good to see all of your faces, and hopefully we can answer some questions, turn interest into enthusiasts, and enthusiasts into drivers, and drivers into change makers. So thank you so much for being here, and I'm so happy to be a part of it.
Woo! Cool. So I'm going to start by asking a question. How many folks have ever driven an electric vehicle? That's pretty good showing, actually. One of the things that we want to do today is not make this academic. I don't want to make this a lecture. I want to make this a lot more interactive and really get to some of the questions that you all asked when you were registering, and really begin to get some of the information and experience from the panelists that are up here as well. I'm going to start on the end here. As a fleet manager, what are some of the things that you find as being beneficial to the conversion from internal combustion engine vehicles as moving to a zero emission or electrified future?
All right, thank you. The main thing that we found is the maintenance. The maintenance costs are way down when you have an electric vehicle. They don't have as many moving parts, so you don't have an oil change. You don't have to worry about tune-ups, that kind of stuff. Everything that you're working for right now. So the maintenance is the main thing, and what we have to do, the main thing that we have a problem is people with range anxiety. And with Atlanta, we've had a lot of EV chargers being put in place, and we're putting some ourselves. We have one at 72 Marietta Street. We have 6 at 14th Street, and we're just putting in some new ones at R.M. Clayton Water Treatment Plant. So we're moving forward. We're getting the infrastructure out there.
One question I want to start and ask the audience. I want to make this interactive. When do folks think electric vehicles came to be? When? Don't you all speak up at one time now. Come on, just shout out. I'm okay with that.
1910?
26. Anybody else?
1898.
Anybody else? One of the things that I always find fascinating is that typically when we're doing these presentations, and you ask individuals when were electric vehicles brought to market, and even in my own family, folks will say, "Hey, I'm gonna wait till they work the kinks out. These are new vehicles. I'll let them work out through some of the issues." Electric vehicles, as is mentioned, have been around since the late 1890s, and so the idea, if you begin to think about that, in the earlier turn of the century, a third of the vehicles were electric, a third of vehicles were steam powered, and then you had a mix of horseless carriages as well as vehicles who were powered by internal combustion components. But the idea is that electric vehicles have been around for more than 100 years. And so what we're seeing outside today is just that evolution of the technology. So my next question is that as a city employee, how has being an electric vehicle driver fit into your lifestyle?
Is this working? Okay, so we all worked, anybody who worked for the city of Atlanta, we kept things moving during the pandemic, and while we were working at home, I onboarded during 2020. And as we brought our good work back to this building, I work in City Hall as the Deputy Commissioner for Human Resources. I had ordered my electric vehicle, and I did the commute, and I will tell you I have a 21-mile commute. I did my commute with a gas-powered vehicle for about 32 days. I didn't count, but yes, I did. Then my car came in. The difference in cost was dramatic. I am lucky that I can pull into that parking garage and plug my vehicle in. Anybody take a guess on what my monthly electric bill is to drive my vehicle 100% of the time? $5. Anybody higher, lower? 10? 20. Okay. Unless I go see my mama in Florida, my out-of-pocket cost is $0. $0. I plug in that garage, and the city pays for my commute. So it has changed my life dramatically. What he was saying about maintenance, windshield wiper fluid is my maintenance. I've had to replace it once in 2 years. I don't use my wipers a lot, but it is. And I have a Tesla, and I got the upgraded self-driving mode, and I will tell you, it makes my team, who is over here, real nervous when they get in the car with me at Tanisha Billingsley. But, but the truth is I love the safety features of it. I love the ease in which she brings me into work. So it's changed my life for the better.
One of the things that a lot of folks don't know is that Georgia, and particularly the 5 metro counties around Atlanta, were really some of the early adopters and early movers when it came to electrification. About 10 years ago, or even better, there were more per capita EVs in the 5 metro counties around Atlanta than there were in California. And the idea with that is that we had a tax credit and rebate that really encouraged a lot of folks to get Nissan Leafs. And that was the point of entry for a lot of folks. That began to predicate why a lot of folks now still drive EVs. And Georgia and the 5 metro counties and Atlanta are still one of the places in the country that has the highest adoption rates of electric vehicles. So John R., one of the questions that I have is that in addition to that, the city of Atlanta has been an early mover in accelerating EV adoption. I saw Justin Brightheart here earlier today. One of the things I know that folks in the office were working on was make-ready ordinances, long before other cities were moving in that direction. One of the things that I'd like for you to talk about is, from a city perspective, what are some of the city's plans, as the Office of Sustainability and Resilience begins to think about this transition? What are some of the things that you all are thinking about, and how are you looking to move electrification forward?
Yeah, thank you, Terry. So it's not a chicken and egg scenario when driving an electric vehicle. You have to have the infrastructure in order to be able to support the adoption of electric vehicles. The good news is most people do their charging at home, although having workplace charging is incredibly important, especially for our Chief Farley, who has an electric vehicle but doesn't have an EV charger in her apartment complex. So being able to provide that charging both in the community and at the workplace are super, super important. But about 75%, 70 to 75% for 40-mile commutes, that electric vehicle trickle charger, that level 1 that you can just plug into your regular 110-volt outlet, will suffice, will cover that entire, as long as you're not driving 24 hours, as long as you're charging when you're asleep. But the city of Atlanta, listen, we got over 300 ports just at the airport alone, charging ports. We have over 80 ports across all of our city buildings, including fire stations, including City Hall, including our public safety training centers, including a multitude of parks and recreation stations. And we're not stopping, that's expanding. Especially now that the federal government is giving rebates not just for electric vehicle purchases, but electric vehicle charging itself. But when you take a look at the map around where electric vehicle charging is located, guess where the areas that don't have a lot of access for EV charging are? In Atlanta, it's the west side, it's the south side, it's southwest Atlanta, where you have 10, 12 public level 2 EV charging spots, 2 DC fast chargers. What does that tell us? That tells us we are the government, our community, our private partners, have a responsibility to make this transition to electric vehicles and all the cost benefits, all the health benefits for that community, all the enjoyment of driving an electric vehicle, to make sure that that benefits all communities. So it's on us and our partners to really look at everything across the table, from programs, from policies like our Make Ready ordinance, EV readiness ordinance, from, and of course, these federal grants that are being passed down from the federal government right now with unprecedented EV infrastructure opportunities. And so that is just skimming the surface, but it's explaining why we do what we do, and then we can dive into how we're doing it.
My next question for you all, for the audience, and I really do want to hear what your thoughts are. What do you think the average cost of a vehicle in the United States is today? A new vehicle. Purchase price.
28.
52, 48, 70, okay, 60. 52 is correct. The average price of a new vehicle purchased in the United States today is $52,000. One of the reasons that this transition to electrification is really important is because there are less components in the vehicles, considerably less components in the vehicle, the price point continues to drop. Right now, we're at about $100 per kilowatt for battery packs, which is the largest component or the most expensive part of electric vehicles. That is continuously dropping. And now what we're seeing is vehicles that are being introduced. The GM has an Equinox that is after rebates around mid-20s. Every manufacturer that you can think of, when you all get a chance after this panel and you walk outside, you're going to see a plethora of vehicles that range from luxury vehicles to transit vehicles to the everyman vehicle outside. And the idea is that these electric vehicles are coming in at all price points. One of the more important things, one of the reasons that we do the work that we do is it really is about a just transition and making sure that everyone has access to this. As was mentioned earlier, if you are spending $0 on your commute, the single mom that lives on the south side of Atlanta should experience that or benefit from that in the same way that somebody that lives in the outer ring suburbs. And it's really important that we do the education to make sure that this transition happens, right? And for some folks, it might be light duty vehicles that they own. For other communities, it might be public transit, it might be school bus electrification, but we really need to make sure that this is happening. Danielle, one of the questions that I have as a person that's new to the EV world or new to EV ownership, what have been some of the benefits? What are some things that you would want to share with folks in the audience about your experience being new to the space?
Great question. So I live on the south side in Fulton County. So we moved around. I've been here in Atlanta. I'm from Ohio originally. Been here, and it's an accomplishment right now. So charging station. So if you heard of BP, you heard of Shell, Chevron. There are plenty of different charging ports and stations like EVgo, Blink, Electrify America. With Volkswagen, they have an incentive with Electrify America. For the first 3 years, I don't have to pay. So my husband plays a game of where they go. And Candace and I were talking about this. He makes it a game to figure out where all the Electrify America charge points, and you can find them on your screen or on your phone, just like Google Maps or Waze, and you just go plug in and pay $0, whether that's a DC fast charger or not. So I don't have to think about that. That was one less thing to think about. All I have to think about now is taking my vitamins on time and staying off my feet. So I'm very happy about that and transitioning business items. So that to me is a bonus. So regardless if you are a single parent or have a huge family and live in a rural community or downtown Atlanta, you still have options. And that to me was a surprising easy transition, very, very easy transition to make.
One of the things to also note and add to this is that there's been a lot of work. The mayor mentioned Justice 40, mentioned a number of things that were happening at the federal level. For individuals who are not aware, if you are purchasing a new electric vehicle right now today, starting January 1st of 2024, many vehicles are eligible for a $7,500 tax credit. In addition to that, there are a lot of pre-owned vehicles that are now entering the market. If you all have taken Uber in the last year, let's just say, particularly in the city of Atlanta, there's a high probability that that vehicle is going to be electric. There's a program that folks at Hertz, Tesla, and Uber came together on, and there are a number of folks across the Atlanta metro area that are renting electric vehicles, and they drive those for rideshare. Those vehicles are now hitting the secondary market at a very affordable price. But if you are buying a pre-owned vehicle, you can get up to $4,000 as an instant rebate or point of sale rebate on that vehicle. There is a dealership here that is that specializes in selling pre-owned vehicles or pre-owned electric vehicles as well, BMW. But you're going to start to see more of those really pop up across the market. And the idea is that for a lot of folks, they think that electric vehicles are all high-end luxury vehicles, and there are. You know, we have Mercedes and Lucids and all of these other vehicles that are out there. But the idea is that when you start thinking about total cost of ownership, the maintenance that is, you know, as was mentioned, windshield wipers, and in many instances, the torque is a little bit higher, so tires. But the idea is that for folks who don't have to think about oil changes, radiator, flush and fills, all of those things, it is a godsend, I can tell you. As somebody who's been driving an EV for quite some time, not having to think about maintenance is something that is just imaginable, right? One of the things that we're gonna do now, I wanna open it up for questions, because there were when folks were registering, there were a lot of questions that you all were asking. I want to be able to address some of those questions and have folks on the panel address those. And then following that, we're going to go out and you all are going to be able to, for those who haven't experienced electric vehicles, we have a number of vehicles outside for you all to do test drives and rides in. You know, I really think it's going to be an exciting time for folks who haven't been in electric vehicles, and even for those who have, to be able to experience a wide variety of vehicles. And for those who haven't seen it, you know, we have a Rivian outside, which is a mayor's vehicle. We have the Tesla Cybertruck, which most people haven't seen ever. So, the e-bikes as well as an electric motorcycle, the Harley-Davidson Livewire, e-Transit. So there's a number of vehicles out there for folks to be able to experience today. But I want to open it up for questions because I know that there are questions that you all have that you'd like to have answered. And yes, Tina. Chris, somebody with a mic. Yes.
Hello, everyone. Yes, I've been an EV driver. I have a Kia. I have a 2016, so I'm kind of early. I haven't been to the gas station probably like 4 years. But recently, like the end of last year, I lost my parking. In my building where I live, because I got an EV. And I want to know, do you know if there's any chance that we'll be getting a city ordinance to protect EV drivers and ensure there's no discrimination against us? Because, you know, sometimes it's propaganda, and sometimes it's just fear that they don't know that our fire departments are capable of putting any fire out.
Yeah, I appreciate the question. I appreciate the question. So, addressing fire concerns, I think it's really important. As Fox 5 actually did an investigative report on electric vehicle related fires. Internal combustion engines come on fire much more often.
180,000 times a year.
Versus electric vehicle fires. They were saying that it's 20 times more likely for internal combustion engines to catch on fire. However, when they do catch on fire, you have thermal runaway, and there are fire concerns that we have to. And so I talked really briefly about our EV readiness ordinance. We are looking at our EV readiness ordinance to also include language that can help make sure that our fire department is able to put out any fires and to quell any of these developers and building owners and managers from having that concern or that fear. And so this is an ongoing effort that we have. And I saw the report, and it's I think the only other place this happened was in Colorado. And so we're in the very beginnings of how we can use policy as a mechanism to not just react to it, but also be preventative so that we don't have any EV-related runaway fires that takes down any parking garages here in Atlanta. But thank you so much for the question.
One of the things I wanted to address, because this comes up quite a bit when we are out in public and doing presentations. About a month ago, there was a lot of movement on social media. People saw vehicles in Chicago that weren't able to charge. What I will tell you is that is an anomaly, right? If you leave any mechanical device outside in negative 25-degree weather, it's not going to run as efficient in the morning. What happens is that those vehicle battery packs have to be between 30 and 75 degrees to charge optimally. So when you plug it in, it warms up the battery pack. So it wasn't that those vehicles weren't charging, and it wasn't that EVs don't work in cold weather climates, because what I will tell you are 3 answers for that every time people ask me: Canada, Norway, Sweden. Like literally the #1 countries in the world that are adopting electric vehicles are all cold weather climate countries. And so the idea is that we know that EVs work actually better in those conditions once those drivers have been educated. It's a behavioral change. And what I will tell you is that driving an electric vehicle is a lot more convenient, because one of the reasons is you never have to stop at a gas station. If you live in a single family home, when you plug that vehicle in your garage, that is your fueling station. So every morning when you leave home, you can have a full state of charge. If you work at a place like Atlanta City Hall, you get to work, while you're working during that 8-9 hour day, your vehicle is charging. So the idea is that the level of convenience is much higher, but we have to educate communities, consumers, on all of those things so that folks can take the benefit from that. Yes, sir, I want to get your question.
Thank you very much. Oh, sorry. Thank you very much for this panel. First of all, it's great to hear your points, and the discussions are great. I was curious regarding like the shift that you're envisioning, like the users and whatnot. If you have the numbers, or if not, like what is the percentage that you are kind of hoping to achieve over the years? Because I imagine it also takes time, even though you want it to happen sooner. Another question I have, if I may ask, is also regarding co-sharing. Like, would you have any ideas on co-sharing? Because I know for a fact that the number of vehicles is not going to solve the traffic. It's also maybe some other solutions that might incentivize actually, let's say, having a common car in the city hall, why not? Or that sorts of things. Thank you.
I could do it quickly, and I think this is going to be the last set of questions, because we want to make sure that y'all get to actually go and experience these vehicles and e-mobility. To answer your first question, following the federal government, they're saying that they want to have 50% of their fleet by 2030 to be fully electric. I think, for us, trying to make it so that personally, every vehicle that we purchase in the future can be electric, so that it can meet all the needs, the current needs. And some models don't meet our heavy and medium duty needs, whether that's capacity or whatever. But to be able to have, 1, the infrastructure, and 2, the models that can meet most, if not all, the needs, so that when we do make purchases, we actually did a fleet analysis for the city of Atlanta, and we looked at the top 100 vehicles that to be switched out, and this is with our partners at the Electrification Coalition. And the lifetime overall savings, without even taking the IRA rebates that Terry was talking about earlier, the lifetime savings were around 35 to 45%, depending upon the vehicle. And so the numbers speak for themselves. And so, and in terms of ride shares for fleet, I think whether that's Department of Watershed Management or Department of Public Works Office of Fleet Services, there are, like, I can tell you one Mach-E that was just purchased this past year that we're going to be trying to take advantage of. The Ford Mach-E, Mustang Mach-E, is going to be used for the car share program for city employees to be able to use. I don't know, Robert.
Yes, at Department of Watershed, our car share program right now, we have 20 vehicles that you go up and we just do grab and go, where you just go to the box, see the key you need, take it out, and you can use it. Of those vehicles right now, 5 of them are Leafs, so you can get an electric vehicle if you choose. All you have to do is make a reservation. You can do it on your phone or at your laptop, and then after the reservation is made, just go down, pick it up, and use the vehicle.
I love that for fleet, and I think it's a great way to optimize vehicles. From a City of Atlanta employee standpoint, my commissioner, Tarlisha Smith, has partnered with the Chief Diversity Officer, Candace Stansel, and we're doing employee resource groups, and that is one of the newest ERGs here at the city, is the I think it's called Green. Oh, I'm not going to know the name now that I'm put on the spot, but but that is one of those things where if we could create a community where you could do that ride share, I think that would be amazing, especially in an EV.
Yeah, one of the things I'll say is that there are 4.2 electric vehicles on U.S. roads currently, with about half of those in the state of California. Really, what we're seeing is that there is once in a lifetime investment by all of the manufacturers into a fully electrified future. Over the last couple of months, we've seen things have ebb and flows. We've seen the fossil fuel industry kind of push back, as well as dealerships and other entities. But what we're seeing is that the train has left the station when it comes to electrification. The idea is that if you get in an electric vehicle, I would argue that it's a better driving vehicle. It has instant torque. It's a much smoother ride. The fact that you can save money on it just makes the experience better. But then if you think about things like we're right now in the city of Atlanta. One of the things is that because of some of the historic and systemic things that have happened in cities around the country, we literally built transportation corridors through communities. The result of that is the data shows African American children are 10 times more likely to die from asthma, respiratory related illnesses than their general market counterparts as a result of exposure to particulate matter and transportation emissions. So for some, we think about this through the lens that, it would be great to switch to EVs and folks who have the means should do so. We really have to prioritize those communities that are often underrepresented because they're exposed to that particulate matter and they're getting the negative impacts of the current transportation system. So it's really important that not just electrifying the cars that we own and drive, but transit and school buses and medium heavy duty vehicles. So as we begin to think about this transition, it's a multifaceted process. And it's going to take a lot for us to get there because we didn't get here overnight. But the idea is that it's going to have reverberating benefits. Next question.
We do have to wrap up.
Okay.
We can take your questions while we're experiencing this.
All right. Yeah. Chandra said we have to wrap up.
Thank you to our panel. Let's give them all a hand. So much to learn. It's City Hall, it's the People's House. There's a lot going on. We've got a really exciting youth-focused event also getting ready to kick off upstairs. So definitely stick around. We'll all be here for questions. We've got all the vehicles lined up out front. So please take a test drive. They'll be here till 3 o'clock. And thank you all for coming to our inaugural Sustainability in Action Day. We really, really appreciate you coming out. Thank you so much.
Candace Sansel and I are the ones that approved it. I was like, we have to let EVs in there. We're talking about programming.
said action. I'm like, y'all tell me we need this, we need that, we need this. I need a cue.
I got you.
You know what I'm saying?
But you got video. You just
I
didn't
got
know
video.
audio.
I got them like maybe 5 minutes in. Well, because I had to run, turn the audio on, come back, adjust everything. So maybe 5, 10 minutes in. But I got some speaking points of him for the edit.
No, just like this. Yeah, I think. Well, what you think? Shooting this way with all this in the background? I mean, I like the colors. Yeah, I like this. And you see the seal in the back.
This is nice too, though, for the lights.
But I like the colors, though. I like the colors of the flag and the red. See how it look?
Yeah, we can get that.
I think we get the cameras in the shot, like you here, I'm here. And just kind of bring your camera.
You know what I'm saying? That's part of you, man. It's an extension of you.
It is, though. Damn, where my other one? Just for the aesthetic. My twin baby. Tweedledee and Tweedledum.
For real.
Them shooters.
Yeah, man. You got behind the camera.
Them shooters.
Shooters. Yeah. You be around the shooter.
You gotta be peeping on it.
Don't get one without the glass.
I be leaving with no pictures.
Yeah, I got to. I mean, that's what build the brand. A lot of people, I get booked just based off of this shit. This side behind the scenes. Like I said, they ain't gonna believe you unless they see it. Real one, shaking it up. Yeah, it's too cool.
I want to drive that goddamn Tesla shirt.
Oh, that's hard.
Yeah, I like it from that.
Because of all the stuff going on.
They gonna know it's.
Yeah, they know what's going on.
What's going on up there?
I think they said they got a class or something for the youth. I think this is like the youth version of it.
They head outside.
I bet.
Trying to see if I can get somebody to pull off in the Tesla at least.
Yeah, let me know before you head out so I can get